Hi everyone, welcome back to DGMZ, diwan-e-ghalib-meri-zubaani. To all our returning viewers, we are very glad that you could join us again. And for the new viewers, we are very happy that you discovered the podcast and decided to tune in for the first time. Now, today's episode is part of this DGMZ Miniseries, which we are currently running, dedicated to the immortal love story of Layla-e-Majnun. We have already posted multiple episodes for this, and today is a new episode. As part of this DGMZ mini series, we are narrating the story of Layla-e-Majnun through a book. Now, today we are going to start the narration from chapter 26 onwards. But before I get into that, DGMZ would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and appreciate Suluk Press Publishing House for allowing us to narrate this story from their publication titled The Story of Layla-e-Majnun by Nizami, translated from the Persian and edited by Rudolph Gelpke. English version in collaboration with E. Matin and G. Hill. Final chapter translated from the Persian by Pirzia Inayat Khan and Omid Safi. Now, the description section of this episode will have a link to this book for all viewers who want to own a copy. And along with that, we will also post links to the DGMZ Ghazal episodes where Ghalib mentions Layla and Majnun. So, with that, let's get into the narration for today. Start of narration. The story of Layla and Majnun. Chapter 24. The dawn of a new day spread its radiant yellow light between the spokes of heaven's night blue wheel, while the awakening sun painted fresh red roses on the horizon. But Majnun was like a flower in autumn. Beaten down by grief and exhaustion, his head drooped, and when towards noon the sun shot its arrows at him, he was happy to find a small oasis where, under some palm trees, a spring was bubbling, and a pool invited the wanderer to rest. Water and greenery and shade. This place, thought Majnun, is like a corner of paradise which has fallen down to earth, like an image of the fields around the celestial lake Kauthar. Having drunk his fill, he lay down on the brocade carpet of soft grass in the shade of the palm trees to rest a while. Soon the tired man was wrapped in peaceful slumber. Time passed unnoticed. When he woke, the sun was already low in the west. He had the feeling that someone had been staring at him. But who? No living soul was visible, far or near. By chance, his eye fell on the crown of the date palm, in whose shade and protection he had rested. There, in the green trellis work of the fan-shaped branches, he saw a black shadow. A big raven squatted motionless, staring at Majnun, eyes glowing like lamps. Dressed in mourning, he is a wanderer like myself, thought Majnun. And in our hearts, we probably feel the same. Aloud he said to the bird, "Black frock, for whom are you mourning? Why this somber color of the night in the light of day? Are you burning in the fire of my grief? Or have I disguised my soul with your blackness?" When the raven heard the voice, he hopped on to another branch without taking his eyes off Majnun, who continued, "If you, like myself, belong to those whose hearts have been burned, why do you shun me? Or are you a khatib who on Fridays preaches from the pulpit of a mosque? Is that why you are wearing this somber garb? Or are you a Negro watchman? If so, whom do you fear? Perhaps I am a Shah, and you are my princely protector. Heed not if, in your flight, you happen to see my beloved. Tell her this from me. Help me, oh help me in my loneliness. Lonely my light fades in the wilderness. Be not afraid, for I am yours, you said. Do not delay, lest you should find me dead. Caught by the wolf, the lamb hears all too late. The shepherd's flute lament its cruel fate. Dying from thirst, I search the sky in vain. Too late, the cloud that brings the saving rain. As Majnun recited these lines, the raven fluttered farther and farther away until he finally took wing from the crown of the palm tree, vanishing into the fading light, which seemed to swallow him up. It was no longer day, but not yet night, the hour of the bat's awakening. The darkness grew until it was as black as a raven's plumage. What a giant raven this night was! When its wings were spread, they reached right across the sky, and yellow raven's eyes stayed down on Majnun as before. Only now there were thousands of them, great and small, a countless multitude. To hide from their gaze, Majnun covered his face with his hands and wept bitterly. The story of Layla and Majnun, chapter 25. When the light of the morning pushed its head through the curtain of the night, the old world came to life afresh in every creature's eyes like a new garden. Majnun could no longer endure to be so far from his beloved. He hurried along as if he had grown raven's wings overnight, or like a butterfly rushing through the darkness towards the flame which it seeks to encircle. The closer he came to his goal, the more his heart became drunk with Layla's scent. The louder his ears perceived the sound of her voice, the clearer his eyes recognized her face in mountains and valleys. All strength seemed to have gone from his limbs, and he had to take rest. He was like a man who has dwelt for a long time among the dead, and now, with every breath, with every sigh, feels the stream of life slowly returning. While he sat there, two strange figures approached. A woman dragged a man behind her, his hair and beard disheveled, his limbs weighed down by iron chains, so heavy that he could hardly walk. He looked and behaved as if out of his senses, and the woman tugged constantly on the rope, hurrying him along like an ox or a donkey. Majnun, deeply shocked, felt pity for the poor man. He implored the woman not to use her prisoner so roughly and asked, "Who is this man? What has he done that you drag him around chained like that?" "Do you want to hear the truth?" said the woman. "All right then. He is neither crazy nor a criminal. I am a widow and he is a dervish. Both of us have suffered great hardship. We are both ready to do anything if only we can fill purse and belly. That is why I decided to parade him in chains, hoping that people would think him mad and give us food and alms out of charity. What we receive, we divide fairly between us." When Majnun heard these words, he went down on his knees and beseeched her. Start of quotes. "Relieve this man of his chains and put them on me. I am one of those unhappy men with a disturbed mind. I should be tied up, not he. Take me with you as long and wherever you wish, and everything that is given to us shall be yours." The old woman did not wait to be told twice. Quickly, she freed the dervish from his chains, tying up Majnun in his stead. He was as pleased as if she had caressed him, and she walked on happily, leading her new victim by the rope. Whenever the woman and her prisoner came to a tent, they stopped. Majnun recited his love poems, cried out, "Layla, Layla," banged head and body against the stones, and in spite of his chains, danced around like a drunken madman, while the woman punished him. One day, they came to an oasis where a few tents had been erected. Looking at them more closely, Majnun suddenly recognized Layla's tent among them. Tears began to stream from his eyes like floods of rainwater pouring from the clouds in spring. He collapsed, hit his head against the ground, and called out. Start of quotes. "You have left me to myself, sharing with me nothing but your grief. Look, I am doing penance because I made you and your people suffer under the hands of Naufal. As a punishment, I have given up my freedom. Shackled, I stand before you, a rope around my neck, waiting to be chastised. I know I have sinned, and my sin is so great that it can never be forgiven. I am your prisoner. You be my judge. Condemn me. Punish me as severely as you like. It is my fault that your people have suffered. In expiation, I am beating my body with my own hands. Yesterday, I committed my crime. Today, I have returned in chains to suffer torture from you. Kill me, but do not reject me in my misery. How can I plead innocence in front of you? You are loyal even when you have abandoned loyalty. I am guilty even when I am innocent. In life, your greetings did not reach me, and your hands did not stroke my hair. But now there is hope. Maybe you will look at me while you kill me with your arrow, and then put your hand on my head. Maybe you will draw your sword, allowing me to rest my head on your threshold like an animal to be sacrificed. I will be as trusting as Ismail before Abraham. Why should I be afraid if it is you who cuts off my head? My heart burns like a candle. If you cut the wick, it burns even brighter. As long as I am alive, there is no way that could lead me to you. Save yourself, therefore save me from myself, and let me rest at your feet in eternal peace. End of quotes. Majnu could say no more. With a loud cry, he flew from the ground like an arrow, his face insanely contorted. Raving as if possessed by a demon, he seized his chains in both hands and in a superhuman effort tore them apart. Striking himself in the face, he raced away from the old woman, from Layla's tent, from all human beings, towards the mountainous wastes of Najd. His parents, his relatives, and friends were told. They had already heard what had happened to him during the last weeks and months. Some searched for him, but when they found him in one of his hiding places in the mountains, they realized that the past, apart from Layla's name and memory, had been extinguished from his mind. As soon as they tried to talk of anything else, he fell silent or escaped, withdrawing into himself as if drunk with sleep. These attempts only excited him, but led nowhere. And so, in the end, even his father and mother had to abandon hope that he would ever recover and return to them. The story of Layla-e-Majnun, chapter 26. What, in the meantime, had happened to Layla? Hear what the deep-sea diver, sounding the ocean of the soul, has to tell you. Layla soon learned of Naufal's victory, and it was her father who told her. He came rushing into the tent, covered in dust and blood, battered and exhausted, his turban awry. Yet he did not look like a man in need of comfort after shameful defeat. He was tired, but his eyes shone with satisfaction, and his voice sounded triumphant. What a master stroke, he said proudly. I have managed to tame this man Naufal with my tongue, after his sword had beaten us. I have escaped disaster by the breadth of a hair. This maniac, this Majnun, almost forced his way in. And then what would have happened? Now Naufal, who fought in God's name and won, may heaven reward him, has withdrawn. We are saved. End of quotes. Layla had to listen, although her heart was almost breaking with grief. But while her father and other people were present, she dared not show it. Secretly she wept and suffered, and when the night hid her from prying eyes, she allowed her tears to fall freely, until her sleepless eyes were red-rimmed like those of the Narcissus. Her parents' home had become her prison, guarding the secret of her love, which must not be revealed. She lived like a serpent, unable to find a way out of a tightly fastened bag. She waited, listening to the wind, as it lovingly caressed the tent, hoping it might bring a message from her beloved. Meanwhile, Majnu's poems, extolling Layla's beauty and recounting the story of their love, had spread among the tribes, and noble suitors came from far and near to try their luck. One offered land, another sheep, yet another gold. Full of desire, they used every trick and art of persuasion to reach their goal. But whatever treasures they had to offer, no matter how strongly they insisted, flattered, and implored, Layla's father remained unmoved. With great care, he protected the glass so that no stone should break it, and barred the door which led to the girl with the silvery limbs. When he was present, Layla drank the wine of gaiety. When he turned his back, she ate the bread of grief. She was a candle which smiles through tears, a rose which hides her thorns, a lame girl supported by the arms of her parents who thought she was walking unaided. Ibn Salam had, of course, also heard about the hordes of suitors perilously encircling his promised jewel. His impatience and desire became inflamed by fear until he could stand it no longer. He equipped a caravan worthy of a king. With donkey loads of amber, musk, jewels, and sweetmeats of all kinds, he started off, hoping to conquer the treasure with treasures. He scattered gold coins among the people like so many grains of sand, and his camels, buried under the load of silken garments, looked like walking hills of brocade. When he arrived, Ibn Salam allowed himself and his men 2 days of rest. Then he sent his mediator to Layla's family. Layla's father could not resist such determined assault, and even less when the orator, with infectious enthusiasm, displayed before delighted eyes treasures from the towns of Araby, from China and Byzantium as presents, using the key of his sweet tongue to open the lock which was already giving away. Consider, he said to Layla's father, what kind of a man is this Ibn Salam? A knight like a lion, backbone of any army, pride of the Arabs. Not only his sword, but untold numbers of men obey him. Wherever he goes, his name races ahead of him, and his honor is without a flaw. If it must be, he will shed blood like water, and gold like sand. Who would not accept such a mighty warrior as his son-in-law? If you are in need of reliable men, he will find them. If you are in need of protection, he will grant it. Like rain in springtime, which never seems to stop, the words poured over Layla's father, who had hardly a chance to open his mouth. What could he do? What could he say? Had he not already promised his daughter to Ibn Salam? True, he would have preferred to wait even longer. Events still went too fast for him. Yet, however much he turned and twisted, searching for excuses, as a man surprised by the enemy searches for his arms, his skilled opponent drove him into a corner with the sword of his tongue, until in the end he had to surrender, handing over his moon into the jaws of the dragon. The day of the marriage was fixed. When it dawned and the sun covered the shoulders of the night with her prayer mat woven from early light, just as one bedecks the shoulders of a bridegroom, Layla's father went to work. Ibn Salam, his entourage, and the other guests were led into the festival tent, where everything had been sumptuously prepared for their reception. As is the Arabian custom, the guests were sitting together, admiring the bride's presents, throwing a tufan of silver coins into the air, enjoying choice delicacies, and weaving new ties between the families on either side, talking and joking in laughter and gaiety. And Layla, the women, while adorning the rooms, burning scented aloe wood and sprinkling it with sugar, never noticed the bride's tears, bitter as rose water and hot as fire. Among all these gay people, Layla alone was sad. Never had she been so lonely, so desperate. Was not everything now lost? How close she and Majnun had been to their goal. But the goblet had cracked just as their lips touched its rim. Nobody here had an inkling of what was happening in Layla's heart. Who notices the thorn which makes you limp when you try to run? A lame foot does not obey orders. Those who rebel against their own tribe lose the tribe. A finger bitten by a snake must be cut off. Life is built on the harmony of all its elements. When this harmony is disturbed, death moves into the breach. And however much people enjoyed her beauty, Layla carried death in her soul. End of narration. So that was chapter 24, 25, and 26. I hope you enjoyed the narration. Let's do some brief impressions before we close the episode. So, chapter 24. Very interesting. Did I understand it in totality? Probably not. But this is what I got from it. So in this chapter, Nizami illustrates a very interesting encounter that Majnu has with this big raven squatting motionless atop a palm tree under which Majnu is lying, and this raven is staring at Majnu without blinking, staring at Majnu continuously with the eyes of the raven glowing like lamps. And Majnu, it seems, once again connects to the animal spirit. This is not the first time we will see Majnu connect to the animal spirit of an animal and almost talk to them as if talking to a human, and miraculously it seems that the animals also understand. So Majnu connects to the animal spirit of this raven and shares his grief, and as always he gives the animal a message to be delivered to Layla. He's done it with the stag, he's done it with the gazelles, he does it with the nature elements, the wind, the rain, and this time he is giving the raven a message. And obviously his messages are poetic, beautiful, so we'll quickly go through what he says to the raven to communicate to Layla. Help me, oh help me in my loneliness. Lonely, my light fades in the wilderness. Be not afraid, for I am yours, you said. Do not delay, lest you should find me dead. Caught by the wolf, the lamb hears all too late. The shepherd's flute laments its cruel fate. Dying from thirst, I search the sky in vain. Too late, the cloud that brings the saving rain. So beautiful, beautiful piece of poetry by Majnu, which he gives to the raven to share with Layla if he ever comes across Layla during his flights. Moving on to the next chapter, again a very, very interesting scenario, and that is what is becoming more and more intriguing to me about Nizami's Layla Majnun. He has put together illustrations and scenarios and settings which are so unique. You do not come across such situations as much in a romantic saga or a romantic epic. So it's very interesting. In chapter 25, we again see Majnu suddenly getting very anxious to see Layla and realizing how far he has wandered away from Layla in his effort to get away from everybody. He has landed up getting too far from everybody, yes, but too far from Layla also. So he starts running back to Layla. Now he cannot run, he is weak, so he is making this journey slowly, but he is moving towards Layla as fast as he can. And while he is doing that, he meets this widow and dervish. Now what a strange story the widow tells Majnu, that both of them are play acting. She's pretending to punish him, he's pretending to be punished, and the scenario they play act in front of people is very sympathy evoking, if you may, and then out of charity and sympathy and pity, people give them alms, and then they distribute it between each other, and that is how they are getting their source of life, right? Bread and other staples. And Majnu relates to the false story and almost tells the woman, your story is my story. The only thing is, right now you have somebody playing the part who is actually not in reality that person, but here I am, actually in reality a madman who should be shackled, who should be punished, who should be paraded in front of everybody so that people can see the punishment I'm getting. So let's exchange places. Let this dervish go and put me in the chains. And whatever you say, I will do. Whatever you earn is yours. I don't even want to split it with you. Just take me with you and punish me. You won't have to play act anymore. And while he's doing his rounds, he reaches Layla's tent. And there's this long monologue where Majnu tells Layla how regretful he is for the sin he committed when he allowed Naufal's army to kill, destroy, and injure her people in that battle. That weighs heavily on Majnu's soul, and he repents. But before Layla sees him, responds to him, again Majnu's Junoon takes over and he just flees the scene. In a superhuman effort, he breaks his chains and he flees the scene and goes back to the mountains of Najd. And then in the last chapter, of course, the marriage of Layla to Ibn Salam. Nizami builds up the whole scenario where he gives credit to Majnu in part for making so many people want Layla, because once you hear Majnu talk about Layla, you want to have Layla. And then all the endless line of suitors, etc. But what grabs the attention is how, amidst all this marriage preparation, the way Nizami describes Layla during this period. So this is what he says. Layla had to listen, though her heart was almost breaking with grief. Secretly, she wept and suffered. When the night hid her from prying eyes, she allowed her tears to fall freely, until her sleepless eyes were red-rimmed like those of the Narcissus. Guarding the secret of her love, which must not be revealed, she lived like a serpent, unable to find a way out of a tightly fastened bag. She waited, listening to the wind as it lovingly caressed the tent, hoping it might bring a message from her beloved. When he was present, and this is with reference to her father, when he was present, Layla drank the wine of gaiety. When he turned his back, she ate the bread of grief. She was a candle which smiles through tears, a rose which hides her thorns, a lame girl supported by the arms of her parents who thought she was walking unaided. The bride's tear, bitter as rose water and hot as fire. Layla carried death in her soul. So I just picked up various lines from this chapter where Nizami gives us this insight into what's happening inside of Layla. Nobody knows it. She doesn't share it. She doesn't show it. But Nizami gives you this coveted, this rare view into what's happening inside of Layla, and clearly she is breaking, she's grieving, she's hurting, she's dying inside, while this marriage and the associated gaiety and festivity is happening all around her. So yeah, that's Nizami did capture that beautifully indeed, giving us that rare insight. I do hope you enjoyed the narration and the impression. If you did, do share your feedback with us. Hit like. If you know someone who would enjoy listening to this beautiful story, share the episode, share the channel via your social media. That is one way you can show your support for the channel. Now, as always, for the new viewers, my strong recommendation to go through the episode titled Introduction to DGMZ.